the prison called Mecklenburg, located in the state of Virginia in the United States. It was one of the most trusted and secure prisons, completed in 1977 at a cost of $20 million. This prison had a special section for inmates sentenced to death. Although the state of Virginia stopped carrying out executions in 2021, before that time, they fully practiced a law similar to divine justice. Whoever killed a person would himself be killed. The death row section had 2 special gates, and security there was extremely tight, because inside were prisoners with no mercy in their hearts. But in 1984, something unbelievable happened. For the first time in its history, 6 death row inmates escaped. For 2 full hours, they completely controlled the prison, overpowering the guards with absolute dominance. How did they do it? These 6 men were accused together of killing 17 people, and if they remained free, they would never hesitate to kill again. James and Linwood, 2 brothers, were accused of opening fire on multiple victims, killing 12 people. Earl Clinton murdered a young woman inside Virginia. Lamb Tuggle killed 2 women after assaulting them. Derrick murdered a shop owner after robbing him of $6,000. Willie killed 2 elderly people and then burned their home. Their escape was never good news for the police, because each one was more dangerous than the other. The biggest question was, how did so many death row inmates escape from such a fortress? Let us go back. May 1984, 7:25 in the evening. The inmates were exercising in the prison yard, watched by 5 guards. After some time, 2 inmates asked to return to their cells. 2 guards escorted them back, leaving 3 guards outside with the rest of the prisoners. That was the first mistake. The prisoners outnumbered the guards. Soon after, the remaining 3 guards decided to escort the rest of the inmates inside, without worrying about the numbers. They did not know that everything had already been planned. At the door between the yard and the cell block, the inmates started a small fight to distract the guards. At the same time, Earl Clinton slipped into a nearby bathroom and locked himself inside while the guards were distracted. Another mistake followed. The guards failed to count the inmates after locking them in. Clinton was forgotten inside the bathroom, and he was the key to the entire escape plan. Moments later, a guard needed to use the restroom. It was locked. The locked door should have raised suspicion. It did not. They assumed the lock was broken. They did not call maintenance. Another mistake. A nurse arrived to distribute medication. She also found the restroom locked and informed a guard. Still, nothing was done. Meanwhile, inside their cells, the inmates armed themselves with small homemade knives made from hidden book parts. Willie made them. Willie had dropped out of school in the 5th grade. He learned to read and write inside prison. Yet he was the mastermind behind one of the most shocking prison escapes in American history. The next step began. An inmate asked the control officer to retrieve a book from another section. The officer left the control room without locking the door. At that very moment, Clinton emerged from the bathroom, followed him, and pressed the button that opened all the cell doors. Chaos exploded. The inmates attacked. Within 3 minutes, they took complete control of their entire section. They captured guards one by one, stripped them of their uniforms, tied them up, and wore the uniforms themselves. They began running the prison section as if they were the guards. They called guards from other sections, pretending there was an emergency. Each guard who arrived was overpowered, stripped, and imprisoned. The prisoners were turning guards into inmates. They even captured the nurse. Some nearly assaulted her, but Willie stopped them. The plan was escape, not destruction. They forced one guard to call the prison warden, and tell him to come immediately. When the warden arrived, he too was captured. Now they had the man who controlled the entire prison. They ordered him to replace the guard at the main gate with 2 of their own men. One final gate remained, the outer fence gate surrounding the prison. At this point, the inmates controlled 90% of the prison. The final step began. They forced the warden to call the guard at the outer gate and claim there was an emergency, a bomb inside the prison. The guard immediately called for a truck to remove the bomb. Exactly what the inmates wanted. They wrapped a broken television in cloth, pretending it was an explosive device, loaded it into the truck, and disguised themselves as guards escorting it out. At midnight, at the end of May 1984, 6 death row inmates walked out of Mecklenburg Prison. For 2 hours, they had ruled it. Soon, the truth exploded. Police units flooded the area. Helicopters searched from above. Virginia entered a state of emergency. Families armed themselves in fear. Because a man who has no hope left in life is more dangerous than a man who still wants to live. 2 hours after escape, the prison was surrounded. At first, police suspected the guards. Later, it became clear the guards had simply been outsmarted. The biggest question remained: where were they heading? The answer: they did not know. They headed south, then argued. They had no real plan after escaping. That was their fatal flaw. They split into 2 groups, 4 and 2. 3 hours later, police found the truck 48 kilometers away. Soon after, a man reported his car stolen. The FBI joined the hunt. Interviews began. Families, friends, anyone connected to the fugitives. 19 hours after escaping, 2 of the 6 were caught inside a small village shop. They were lost, unaware even of where they were. 4 remained. A $40,000 reward was offered. 2 were spotted trying to steal another car. They fired at police and escaped, but their location was now known. The other 2 headed toward the Canadian border. They robbed money for fuel before crossing. Police chased them. Eventually, they too were captured. Only the 2 brothers remained. 19 days later, they were arrested in northern Philadelphia while celebrating inside a garage where they had been working. They had been free for 19 days. And then it was over. 2 months later, the prison warden resigned in disgrace. Security was reinforced. Guards were replaced. Then the executions began. Linwood Briley was executed in 1984 by electric chair. 6 months later, his brother James followed. That same month, Clinton, the man who hid in the bathroom, was executed. In 1991, another was executed. In 1996, Willie, the mastermind, was put to death by lethal injection. In his cell, officers found a handmade pistol and a note with one word: "Smile,